Good evening, and welcome to Talking Songs with me, Rowland Jones. How are we all doing out there? Oh, what was that? A flash of light then? Always worries me. Here we are again. What have I got to report? Wasn't here last week because we went to an amazing concert. A guy that I'd heard the name, called Kurt Elling. Fantastic American singer, songwriter, very jazzy, won lots of Grammys, been nominated for even more, with an awesome three-piece band. One of my heroes, Charlie Hunter, on guitar. Charlie Hunter normally plays a sort of hybrid bass stroke guitar, which is kind of funky, and great funky keyboard player and a phenomenal drummer. Absolutely one of the best concerts I've been to. Well, one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Actually, it was just. I'm not one of these people who leaps about and whoops or anything. But I found myself whooping, clapping, laughing, and leaping. I certainly was. It was just a knockout. So do check him out if you get a chance to catch it. I don't know whether he's doing any more gigs. I think he was going to get gigging in London before doing Manchester, and I think he's gone back to wherever it is. But do check him out, Kurt Elling. And for the guitarist amongst you, check out Charlie Hunter. Great player. Great player. So, well, that's what we're up to. So, I'm going to kick off with a song as usual. And this is a song that was actually written about a film, but I cannot remember what the film was. But you'll get the gist of it as we go through. But it was something that we saw a while ago, and quite like the feel of it. And so anyway, this is a song called Nothing to Prove. There's a man in the mirror he can barely recognize. He's got lines on his face, still got those laughing eyes. Remembers his hair when it was long and not so white. He'd work all day, still wanna party all night. Now things are different, nothing to prove, no need to try. Putting on makeup, adjusting her hair, smiling and dancing like there's nobody there. Just a little older, still young in her heart. See, life could be easy, wish she'd known it from the start. Now things are different, nothing to prove, no need to try. No longer in that springtime, but their minds are still alive. They've learned a thing or two, like how to survive. What they want to do, know what it's all about. No indecision, not a hint of a doubt. Now things are different, nothing to prove, no need to try. Turns from the mirror and touches her hair. They laugh and they dance, they don't need anybody there. Living in the moment, living life to the full, not wasting a minute, never playing the fool. Now things are different, nothing to prove, No need to try. No need to try. I have a suspicion it was a film with Helen Mirren or Judi Dench or somebody like that, somebody famous. So today, now I'm sure I have mentioned it, that early on this year I went off on a songwriting retreat where I met lots of good people, lots of nice and interesting people who were all interested in the same things. We're all there just to do one thing, and that was write songs, as well as drink and have a good laugh. Bella, who was on a couple of weeks ago, was one of the people I worked with on the first day. And the person I have with me tonight, who is about to leap onto your screens, is Trisha, professionally known as Little Law. Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm all right. Yeah. So
it seems odd. It seems odd to say "How are you" when we've already had a little chat prior to this going live.
Yes,
but you've got to keep
the
up
mystery. The mystery of the magic screen. The magic lantern strikes again. Yeah. It's like when you see these amazing, really crappy things sometimes on TV when they say, and now I'm popping round to meet Mr. So-and-so. And then the first shot is inside the guy's house where he's opening the door. And I think he probably had an idea that the cameraman was going to be outside as well as inside,
Indeed, yes.
So
I love that song, by the way. I tried hard to work out what the movie was. I thought that line, I've written down something here, and now I can't read it. Longer in springtime, but the mind's still alive. No longer in. Yeah. Oh, I like that. That was good. I like that metaphor of the long spring. Well done.
Thank you. I'm quite pleased with it. I think it's I still can't remember what it was, but I mean, it's yeah, it was, loving older life type thing, and I'm sure it was Judi Dench. I mean, it's always Judi Dench or Helen Mirren, isn't it? Let's be fair. So, okay, there's one question I have to ask you: where does Little Law come from?
As you will know, and anyone who's heard any of my music will get the gist. I love songs with a story, so I wanted to have an artist name, sort of like a band name, even there's only one of me, rather than just go by my real name, which is Trisha Duffy, and just doesn't sound very, it's not got a lot of cool, has it?
Well, I mean, there has been somebody called Duffy, I believe, who did quite well.
That one's already taken, you see, so I have to think of something else. So I was looking for something else, and I have this really sort of strong feeling about songs being this distillation right down of a story, basically. So that's where the idea came. Law being, a folklore, a tale, a story.
Right. Okay.
A small story. So
I like it. Oh yeah. I was trying to think whether it was a specific character, and the only thing I could come up with was Lorelei, and I thought it can't be anything to do with Lorelei.
Well, I mean, there is some alliteration, isn't there? There are some fabulous double L's in the world. So Loretta being the main one. Happily take that comparison, but I'm not sure it's going to be forthcoming for a while.
Great. So when did it all start for you then, songwriting?
Songwriting is really I feel it's been recent, but it has been quite a number of years. But in percentage terms of my life, it's quite a small amount of time. I've been writing for about 6 or 7 years. But as a child, I was a poet and a singer. Those were my kind of, my big drivers. So I suppose that when I sort of look back to the kind of kid I was then and what I do now, it's just took me a bit of time to get to where I needed to be, I think. I recently found some old journals actually that I wrote when I was sort of in my late teens and early 20s, in which there are all sorts of things, like including the synopsis of entire musicals and all sorts of things that I didn't even remember writing. One of them was called Euthanasia the Musical. I'm not even joking. That's how my sort of teenage brain worked.
That is angst. That is teenage angst, definitely.
But I've actually only been properly writing songs for about the last 6 or 7 years.
Cool. Yeah. So, what do you now? I know you're attending this course at the moment, this master's degree. So, how do you feel about that? I mean, does that help to make your writing more disciplined, or is it just disciplined in the sense of doing the degree? Is it all those two things separate?
Well, I mean, I'm doing a master's in songwriting, and it is an academic master's. So, although, we have to write a brief every week. So there's a lot of songs. And at the moment, the module that I'm working on is all around creative process and purpose of songwriting. And so really our main instruction is to experiment as much as possible. I think I will do a song that I've written for the master's actually tonight. So you can sort of see and make a judgment as to whether it's improving my songwriting or not. A lot of the songs that I've written have not been my best work because we're in the business of experimenting and doing things that we wouldn't normally give ourselves license to do. Because if you're working as a songwriter and creating for your artist project, as I tend to do, I would normally throw stuff out if I thought it wasn't going the right direction quite early on in the process. Whereas with this master's, this sort of indulgence, if you like, of writing stuff that is really truly expanding and experimenting in kind of a slightly different way, it is a bit of a luxury, to be honest. But it is also, it's sort of like trying on different outfits for size, isn't it? What do I feel about this? How do I like it? Do I feel like that's going to suit me? Is that going to work for me?
Have you found project? I mean, like when I was chatting to Bella on this 2 weeks ago, one of the things that we'd found is that I had this chord sequence, and we discussed about writing this happy song, and we got quite a long way into it, and suddenly we both sort of came to the conclusion that it wasn't going anywhere. And I think both of us were quite happy with having made that decision because we both agreed, 100% with it. I think if we'd have had to follow it through to examine our creative process, that would have been hard work, which is what you seem to be saying that you have to do. You write something with the intention of actually analyzing it.
Yeah. I mean, we have to be able to demonstrate that we've tried new different processes and we've learned from it, basically. And so, I mean, the books that you see on the windowsill there are all my books for school, of which there are many. I've got some on my desk here as well, which you can't see. And so, you really are experimenting with new ways of writing and trying different things and experimenting and, just really pushing ourselves to, I mean, I've written on the piano, which I'd never really done before. I was always writing on guitar previously. I've written from music rather than from lyrics, which is my tendency was always to write lyrics first and not music first.
Oh, right. Okay.
So, just sort of trying to sort of jump up and down and also doing quite a lot of co-writing as well, which is, well, as you know, because we co-wrote together when we first met. It can be a really, really rewarding experience. We did co-write, didn't we?
We did indeed. Yes, it was good. It was good.
It was good. It was really fun. And it can be really, really fun. I mean, co-writing is a really fun pastime for sure.
I think so, yeah. For me, really, it was the first time I'd actually, I think I'd written one song. I mean, I'd been involved in songwriting before, but it had mainly been with a band where somebody came along with an idea and then we sort of built that between us, as it were. But actually sitting down and co-writing a song I'd done once before with a guy up here, which had worked really well, but that's the only one we did. And so for me, it was a new experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, I have to say, and hoping to do more of it. Okay, then, is it time for a song? I think we should have a song. What do you reckon?
Should we? We're just going to chat all night and not bother doing any singing. I thought that maybe that would be the...
is that what you were hoping for?
Like settling in. Yeah, exactly. Oh, what should I do first? Let's see. Well, I might actually just push myself and do this new song that I wrote first of all.
Yeah, why not?
Because you were just talking about the Masters. So let me just tell you a little bit about how this came about in terms of experimentation. So we had a reading week a couple of weeks ago, and just before the reading week, our brief that was set for us was to write a song that we researched like a novelist would. That was the brief. And I have got two wonderful friends who, sadly, both of them have lost their partners. And I just coincidentally had seen the two of them the week before. And one of them has had done a master's in fine art photography quite recently. And his final project included some photography around people who also lost their partners young, like under the age of 50. And he showed me his final project. And in the final project, there was a massive theme around benches, which came through. And I just thought, well, actually, there's something around a bench, which is quite an inspiring and it's quite a British thing as well, a bench. So I don't want to give too much away about the song, but that did inspire this. And I did a lot of research about, and this is called The Bench. I did a lot of research of benches and the things that go on benches. And a lot of research and a lot of photographs of memorials of benches, and this is the song that I wrote. And actually, out of all the songs I've written this semester for the masters, this is the one that I'm most happy with. But I'm going to try and play this on the piano now. I'm on the guitar now. I wrote this on the piano, so this is the first time it's ever been played on and performed on the piano.
Go for it.
A little exclusive, you know.
Excellent.
The varnish peels on the bench where she sits, takes in the view and tries to forget the one who left. An older man, she thinks back to where it began. Her disbelief as they sat on that bench, hearing his words that didn't make sense. He loved her but said his age was a bind. He ran from her tears lest he change his mind. She loved him once, she loved him twice, but the gods didn't feel like playing nice. Left on the bench, heartbroken, she cries out to the sea. Love never dies. Wanted to hate him, the love was too strong. When he came back, felt more right than wrong. Found that old bench where he made amends, down on one knee, more than just friends. The wasted years were all in the past. They built a love she thought would last. How bitter the blow when he left her again, with a soft goodbye and a whispered amen. She loved him once, she loved him twice, but the gods didn't feel like playing nice. Left on the bench, heartbroken, she cries out to the sea. Love never dies. She sits on the bench with the sea view and the book that reads, he loved this place too. The dates engraved, too close together, inscribed when he said goodbye forever. She loved him once, she loved him twice, but the gods didn't feel like playing nice. Left on the bench, heartbroken, she cries out to the sea. Love never dies.
Yeah. Yes, I've only heard it done with a piano so far.
I've had that funny thing now where something in Microsoft is asking me for a password right in the middle. I'm going to just hit deny. Nothing to see here. It's all fine. In the middle of that is this little box
thing came up in the middle.
Saying, can you please enter your password? No, I can't right now.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Excellent. So when you were writing that, you did a lot of research on it. Did you then find that you wrote it in a relatively short period of time, or did you because I know I'm talking to a lot of people about how they write songs, and people vary. Some people sit down and think, right, yeah, I've got the idea now, zoom, and it all comes out, and then they modify as it goes along. But they kind of, there's an outpouring of lyrics, and other people are more like, well, I had the first verse, and then I did a bit of this. Seeing as you'd researched it so much, did it all come out quite easily or not?
I actually used a technique called song mapping for this song. So I don't know if you're
Oh,
familiar
yes, you
with
mentioned
that.
that.
Yeah, something that Simon Hawkins does, has written a book about. And because, again, I'm experimenting with lots of different things. And I was in Cornwall at the time, so I'd spent all this time sort of photographing the benches and thinking about the story and all the rest of it. And song mapping is a technique where you basically can apply the map of the most successful songs in the world, essentially, and what their characteristics are, and then you apply that, and you, rather than thinking about lyrics specifically, you just think about the specificities of how the verses and the chorus move along in their relationship to each other. So in this particular song, it starts off with the kind of, the guy leaving the girl on the bench, and that's our story. And then our chorus says she loved him once, she loved him twice. Well, that just might be something you say. It doesn't necessarily have a big meaning. And then our second verse,
and yet that's the line I was drawn to. That was the line I was drawn to. I was thinking, what does that mean?
So there's a little bit of mystery there about that. And then in the second verse, he leaves her again. They get back together and he proposes on the bench, and then he leaves her again. And there's a little hint that something there is a little bit amiss, because there's the whispered amen, but we're not exactly sure. But now the chorus really makes sense, and now the chorus is delivering a much better job for us. She loved him once, she loved him twice, but the gods didn't feel like playing nice, and she's heartbroken. She looks out to sea, and then it's only really the middle eight that we deliver the tragic blow, that the plaque reads, "He loved this place too," which does actually exist on plaques on memorial benches, because he's died the second time he left. So and then obviously your chorus makes even more sense. That's the whole plan. So so I plotted it out that way, and then I sat down and I wrote lyrics. Probably, actually, I think I only wrote the first verse and the chorus before I then started with the piano. Because I only had a piano with me at the particular time, so I had piano or nothing.
You happen to have a piano.
Well, a keyboard, actually. This keyboard here.
I forgot my guitar, but I just happened to have a piano with me. Yeah.
Well, no, the reason was, actually, since you mentioned it, is my son was doing his grade 3 piano, you see, and so we were in St. Ives, and we went on the train, and I thought, I can't take a guitar and a keyboard on the train, and he really needs to practice. So I had to sacrifice my guitar in favour of the keyboard.
Well done, well done.
The behind the scenes of life as a songwriter.
No, it's interesting. The thing that you described it in that map. I mean, I'm being maybe a little commonsensical about it, but in a sense, it's like chapters of a book. You were plotting out what's going on. Because you did mention this to me and Bella when we were songwriting a few weeks ago, when we had a brief conversation. And the thing that struck me about it was that I found that quite interesting, but it actually tied in with exactly how we'd been discussed, because neither of us had come across it before, but it's exactly how we'd mapped out this song. Was saying, well, this is about what happens then, and that was and this is the denouement of it, blah 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 blah. Are there that many different ways to map out a story, or is it a generic sort of? Are they examples of one sort of generic?
There definitely are different ways. I mean, you can use a time, so you can move on the story from the. It really works for story songs, doesn't it? So, you're in one time zone, and then the chorus makes sense. And then you're in another time zone, the chorus makes a new sense. And then you're in a middle eight that explains the twist, and the chorus makes even more sense, kind of thing. I think that the tendency can be with some pop music, commercial music, can be to tell the story in the first verse and the chorus, tell the story using different words in the second verse and the chorus. It doesn't move the story on. And I think the beauty of song mapping is it allows you the sort of clarity of thinking about how am I going to move the song on before you start writing your words, because it can be tempting. I find that sometimes I write verses that have very similar meaning, like throughout a song. They say pretty much the same thing, but I love the words so much I don't want to get rid of any of them. So you become a little attached to your babies. I can't possibly lose that verse. It's really lovely poetry. and you can't lose that one either. So I'll just have to say the same thing twice. Whereas if you've song mapped in the first place, the tendency is less to do that. I think you're more disciplined about trying to find.
I mean, in a sense, it's. I mean, because you said about being a storyteller, and I've had it said quite a lot about my songs. Several reviews have said telling stories, and I hadn't really thought about it like that. But when I think back, I think, yeah, well, that's the way I see them, really. So I suppose what the mapping does, it formalizes the process in different versions, as it were, which is quite interesting.
It's also extremely valuable for co-writing, because actually to go to a co-write with a blank sheet of paper is like a nightmare. But if you can go with a few maps, I'm actually going to Nashville next year, and I'm already planning that I'm going to write, I don't know, 10, 15 song maps of ideas that I think could be songs, without writing the lyrics at all, just write the song map, so that when I go into my co-writes, I can go, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? And I just think that people might go, oh yeah, I love the idea of that. Let's build on it. Or, actually, I think the chorus words or the title could be different. And so as long as you've got a title and a sort of premise, I think you can build that.
I think the premise is a good word for it.
So valuable.
Are you
really useful?
I saw that you're heading off to Nashville. Are you going to a specific songwriting thing, or are you just hoping to meet people, or what?
So it's actually
is that mapped out as well?
Yeah, that is mapped out. So I'm going during Tin Pan South.
Right.
So that's a big festival of singer-songwriters in March, April time. But I've actually got quite a lot of contacts out there already. So literally yesterday when I booked my flights, I just hit up my 4 friends out there, and they're all like, let's go write. I mean, literally they're all songwriters. So they'll definitely be co-writing. And also I'm going actually with some people from my school as well, so we'll have the opportunity to meet the cohort on the songwriting masters at Belmont University, and so there will no doubt be kind of connections to make there as well. So I have no doubt that it will lead to
all sorts of stuff.
To
brilliant.
Write, sure, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's just such a fun city anyway. There's no shortage of kind of musical things to do over there.
Absolutely. Yes. The thing that made me laugh when we were there, one of the things is that whoever you speak to is a musician.
Yeah, exactly.
We got into an Uber cab one day, and as we're driving along, the driver's going, well, we've got to have the rehearsals before Saturday because we start the tour, and this, and everybody you bump into it is a musician, and it's
either a musician or working something to do with music. Because I had an Uber driver when I was there one time who was an actor in the videos for music.
Oh right. It's I have to say, when the first day we got there and walked down Broadway, I found it a bit overwhelming. It was like it was a sort of like Blackpool with cowboy hats, and it was a bit too much. But once we'd been there about an hour or two, and we'd been into a few bars and listened to some music and chatted to some musicians, I loved it.
It's amazing what a beer can do 11 o'clock in the morning, isn't it? Right.
Exactly. Well, funny, that's exactly what happens, because I got chatting to a guy on the first night, a guy called Russell in Lily's Lounge, and he said, well, we've got an open mic night in the morning, just come and drop in. So we went along, and it was about 10:30, and we walked in, and everybody was already drinking there, and I walked into this room, and him and the trio that was playing, they'd just finished a tune, and we just walked in. There weren't many people there, but so he went, oh, looky, who's here? Hi, Rowland, this is my friend from Manchester. Rowland, come up here and give us a song. So I go up, and he hands me a guitar. And of course, he didn't tell me it was in Nashville tuning as well, which is a little daunting. No. It was. I'm trying to follow what the other guy's doing, not realizing at first that it's tuned a tone down. But it's a 24-hour music city. It's lovely.
It is,
in terms of, so you're using all these methods now, how does it compare with how you wrote prior to starting this more formalized approach, do you think? Is it totally different?
No, I mean, not totally different, but I was very, I did have my sort of tried and tested method, which was to write some lyrics and then pick up the guitar and start strumming chords and improvise a tune over the top until I found something I was happy with. So, and that had worked pretty well for me. I mean, I must have written, I don't know, I've probably written over 100 songs that are rubbish. and that only a few of them ever get to be produced and actually make it to the public. I always, when I work with my producer, I always try and give him, some say on what we will record and turn into a record. And anyone who wants to check out how these sound with the full band, you can do that if you listen to my stuff. So it's definitely it's really just expanding me to try different things. And actually off the back of the workshop that we went on, the retreat that we went on, I started writing differently as well, really mainly because of meeting you and meeting Bella and also Nick, who I know you'll host in a few weeks' time. There's been a few times where I've been on my own and I will say to Nick, okay, set me a couple of challenges. And so he'll set me a challenge saying, right, okay, why don't you start with music first instead of the lyrics for a change and that type of thing. So that has been quite good. So I've sort of been trying to trick myself out of that in preparation really for starting at music school. So it's just more variety really now. And also the sort of research.
It's more stimulus as well. I mean, that's the other thing, is the stimulus to do it. Yeah, because I think it's a lot harder when you as well. Because we get a brief every week, so you have to respond. Yeah, well, after speaking earlier on, I had a brief conversation on Messenger with Nick, and I was asking him about this weekly challenge, and he sent me this thing called you need to have thumbs. Oh God. And it's brilliant. I love his writing. He's so inventive, and it has the line in it, you have to make your phalanges more opposable. And it's a song to his cat that is hungry but clearly isn't able to open tin. And he's explaining to the cat basically why you need to have opposable thumbs in order to be able to open a tin. I think you should definitely ask him to play that one when he. Yes, I definitely. Well, I mean, to that end, the 1 week I do the Song a Week challenge as well. So I actually write 2 songs a week because I do my school song and I do Song a Week challenge. Oh, do you? Right, okay. And a couple of weeks ago, the prompt was "Rhymes with Orange," which was the other song that I wrote on the piano, which I invented a word called "warrange," which is a verb. Warranging is to worry unduly about the lack of rhymes for the word orange. It was the only way around it. What are you going to do? Well, of course, Susie Dent's got a podcast called "What Rhymes with Purple," hasn't she? That's right. Yeah, purple, orange, else. Yeah, those are the words. Silver. That's the other one. I think. Yeah, you won't think of it now. I was going to say you could by the skin of your teeth go in with sliver, I suppose, but I think that's a near rhyme. Officially. I think it is near enough for me, I have to say. So, is it time for another song? Do you think? Sure, I'll do another little story. I think. Go on. So this was inspired from being in Nashville, actually. So I did a co-write with a very lovely chap who I'll meet again next time I go, called Chris. We'd met on a songwriting workshop a previous time that I'd gone, and we did a co-write session. And actually what we came up with that day, a bit like you and Bella, we weren't really happy with. So we didn't take any of the songs further. But afterwards in the bar, we went to a jazz club, and I ordered a rum on the rocks, and he said to me, "Don't see many girls around here drinking brown liquor." And I was like, well, I do, and you find a lot of girls in the UK do. Right. And he says, actually, I've got a friend who we call Brown Liquor John. He's a friend of ours. We take the mickey out of him and we call him Brown Liquor John. And when I was on the plane on the way home, I was thinking about that, and I thought to myself, do you know what? That is definitely a song. Absolutely, song. That is great. So so that's how the story of Brown Liquor. Excellent. Okay, started. Let's hear it. and this is what happened. This was my last single. Actually, came out a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Congratulations are in order. It's time to entertain. His Rolex watch, imported scotch, it's bonus time again. He meets every expectation. The career his daddy chose. A wife that gave his mama hope for the joy a Nana knows. Pours brown liquid in a glass. Another sip towards his bypass, and he wonders how to keep on keeping on. That's the tale. Brown Liquor John.
that matters is the score. He got himself 2 children, but he still wants point for more. He's searching in the margins for a version of himself, avoiding all the mirrors 'cause it's better for his health. Drinks a toast to his great success, never asked for happiness, and he wonders how to keep on keeping on. That's the tale. Round Liquor John. And all the drunks are equal Sunday morning at the shrine. Take their taste of holy bread, all searching for a sign. But nothing fills the spaces, there's no magic wand to wave. Keep on seeking more and more, but his soul can't be saved. He crushes pills into a line, wash them down with holy wine, 'cause he knows he can't keep on keeping on. That's the tale. Round Liquor John. We'll drink a toast to his great success, never asked for happiness. In the end, he couldn't keep on keeping on. That's the tale. Round Liquor John. Yeah, that's the tale. Round Liquor John.
Great, love it. I had wondered whether I have listened to it before on the on Facebook, but I hadn't worked out where the line comes from. But it's interesting you say that because you related at the beginning of that how when Bella and I had spent a day working on something, we got to a certain point and thought, no, I've started it. But equally, the similar thing happened to us because we're thinking, hang on, it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, whatever it was. And we're thinking, well, so we started on something else, and we basically busked another song in about probably 25 minutes. And I think of the 2 things we did that day, that was without any shadow of doubt the most successful because it just came out naturally. So there was, for me, there was a certain initial disappointment that we'd worked so hard to try and make this thing work and it hadn't. But then at the end of the day, something else came out of it instead. And I think coming back to what you were saying before about you write a lot of songs and have to kind of reject them. It's kind of difficult, though, isn't it? To with a song to say, well, okay, no, that's not going to work, and put it to one side. Or do you just put it to one side and then?
I don't mind that at all because I am quite a prolific songwriter. I've written a song a week minimum since May, since I met you. I've minimum, and sometimes I've written 3 in a week. So that's a lot of songs just this year alone. And some of them I've just written them to finish them, to be honest. And some of them have got legs, and a couple of them. Some of the songs I've written this year are 2 of them are my next 2 singles, Birds and Normal. And the one I played earlier, The Bench, I think that will be a keeper probably to go on to a record at some point.
Yeah, it's a nice song.
But I can't produce everything and I can't perform everything, and usually my sets are 30-45 minutes, maybe an hour a push, so it's not that much time really to sing a lot of songs. By the time you've had a little chat,
by the time you've explained the story and that you related to the audience,
get
the gags
jokes.
and the commercial breaks.
Yeah, exactly. My wine and
interesting you said before about putting it out on I don't know, did you say an album or a record? I can't remember. Do you think that are you looking at producing CDs still or just doing things online and streaming
so I've got a CD. There is a CD. If anyone would like a CD, they're £5 each and available from my website or from Bandcamp. I mean, I've got my first EP I brought out on CD, and actually there's not many left. They're quite rare now. So, anyone wants one, they're a collector's item. So they did okay. I mean, I usually, if I do a nice gig, like a listening room, something like that, I can usually expect to sell just a handful each time, which is really nice. It shows you've made a connection, I think. So I do like the CDs, and people do still buy them. And from a musician's point of view, it is still,
it's an object, isn't it?
Markup on a CD than you do on the streaming. The streaming, there's really no cash.
Oh
there.
Yeah.
The last two singles I've had out have just been singles, just been digital. So earlier on this year, I released a single called "Shallow," which was a political song I wrote about my disgust of Boris Johnson and Prince Andrew, and then Brown Liquor John, which just came out a couple of weeks ago, and then I've got Birds that's coming out next week, and then another one in January as well, which is called Normal. So
one of the things I was going to say though about producing CDs is, since we've been back in the UK, I've recorded 5 CDs. And for me, there is a completion about having a physical object. I mean, I know maybe a little old-fashioned, but whereas to actually produce another dozen songs and just have them as files on a computer.
I don't really mind. I just wonder whether partly
that's the age difference,
maybe. I do love having the CD and effort that goes into a CD, and also curating a record and an album that can flow in a certain order and tells a story. And definitely, I think my next album will hang together as a bit more of a concept than my previous EP did, which was really an introduction to Little Or, because before being Little Or, I was in a duo. So, me branching out my own and sort of going solo was kind of a big thing. So to have a sort of body of work that was released all at one time was very important to me. But I think I will drop singles for the next little bit, and I suspect it will probably be 2024 before I release an album, because I want to make sure that it does hang together as not as a concept album necessarily, but definitely as a story,
as a whole piece.
Yeah. So whether or not something like The Bench, which I just played to you, would end up on a CD or on that album, whether it would just be released as a single because it's a piece of work I'm proud of, I don't know yet. But the thing I do invest in quite heavily is the artwork for my singles, and I've got this relationship with this most incredible artist called Afia Pace, who's currently studying fashion in Paris Fashion School, which is very difficult to get into. And she's done my artwork for the last 4 times that I've needed artwork. And she's just absolutely sensational. And I just love working with her, because I'll tell her what the song's about, and I'll give her the lyrics, and I'll even play her the tune. And then she'll go, okay, leave it with me. And then she'll just spit back to me, I was thinking this, what do you think about this? And the way her mind works is a real collaboration in of itself. So actually they carry, the artwork obviously carries with the song all the way through its life, and I really love that. They look great together. Did
she do the one, is it the artwork that you recently published on your profile? Was that for the bird or something else?
She's done that, yeah, bird.
The sort of a very pastel-y illustration type. Yeah. Lovely.
And Brown Liquor John, which is the man sitting in his archway with all of the objects and his diptyque candle, which says "Help me" on it, and all of that.
It was the other one that really struck me as being quite very classy. Yeah, I like that a lot.
It's a really good piece of artwork. You wait till you see what she's done for Normal. It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's like my favourite of all of them. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's really fantastic.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So, what else is in the pipeline then? Heading off to Nashville, which sounds very exciting.
Heading off to Nashville next March. Writing all the time. Just basically writing all the time. I have booked myself a banjo lesson for this week, Thursday. Yeah, because obviously I'm so good at guitar. I thought it was about time I learned some other instrument. I'm so brilliant at both the piano and the guitar. I thought it was about time I learned another instrument. So I've got this sort of like overwhelming ambition in life to be really bad at as many instruments as possible by the time I die. So
it's an ambition. Let's leave it at that.
I'm sure I can do it. I'm absolutely positive.
I'm convinced you will.
So
why banjo? Is that just the sort of expectations of countryish music?
Well, it's partly that, and I have a banjo, so I thought of staying
That's a good
tuned with it.
start.
And I've got a banjo mandolin as well, which is my grandfather's.
Oh, right.
And I just thought it kind of doesn't really matter if I can't play it that well, because I'm actually a songwriter. That's my main job, is to write the songs, and I'm perfectly able to do that with my sort of, basic guitar playing and basic piano playing. So actually, to have another instrument that might force me to write differently, might give me different harmonic palettes, etc., just felt like a logical thing to do. So I thought, if I can get a few lessons just to get some basics under my fingers, since I've got a banjo in the house, who knows what will come out of that. So it's really just about sort of pushing
I think it's a good idea.
Harmonic palette. Yeah.
I always remember in an interview with I can't remember which one it was. There was a songwriting team in the early 70s called Chinny Chap, and Nicky Chin and Mike Chapman, and one of them wrote the lyrics and the other wrote the music. I remember seeing an interview with the two of them, and whichever one was the musician said, "Well, I just use these 4 chords." And that was it. And it's quite clear that the way he played, that he wasn't a skilled musician at all. But it didn't matter, because that's not what they were there to do, And there's the story about, I think it was Irving Berlin who had this piano made, because he only ever played on the black notes. So, and eventually he was so wealthy, he had a grand piano made whereby the entire keyboard would move one way or another to put it into a different key whilst he was still playing on the black notes, which is, extravagant. It cost like, £12,000 in like the 40s, some ridiculous price. So it's not the same thing, writing a song and being a good musician is a different skill. So
my main instrument is my voice, which I think is probably actually an okay standard. So that's my main thing, and then the rest of it is just supplementary.
Yeah, accompaniment. Excellent. Well, would you like to do another song?
Sure. So whether to do birds or normal, which one shall I do?
The choice is yours.
It's mine, isn't it? I know. I'm the only person who can decide this. Actually, I think I'll do normal. Let's find my capo, because it's a little higher. So this is going to come out in January, January the 20th. I guess I should say I wrote this. I was stuck in my bedroom with COVID, completely isolated when I wrote this song, and I was kind of mad at somebody as well. I was thinking back to a time I'd been mad. Actually, it wasn't quite that current at the time, but when I do this live, I do a little skit. I feel like the need to share it before I go into the song, where I say, I don't wish him well. I just want you all to know before I start the song, I don't wish him well. And I sort of strum a little bit, and I go, well, okay, maybe a stubbed toe, a small trip. And then inevitably someone in the audience shouts, a broken leg. And I go, yeah, a broken leg.
Audience participation, excellent.
Exactly. I spent a while believing the view I wasn't enough. It's me, not you. Worship ground that wasn't true. I was always too much for you. Why be happy when you can be normal? Why feel joy when you can feel awful? Don't be free, there's a way to be formal. Why be happy when you can be normal? Out on the road, paying my dues. The songs I like best are the ones about you. Hated to lose, it made me so blue. I kicked down doors without you. Why be happy when you can be normal? Why feel joy when you can feel awful? Don't be free, there's a way to be formal. Why be happy when you can be normal? Be thankful, really I knew I can be be great, now I've shaken off you. And if you came back, what would I do? I'd say, go and love yourself. Why be happy when you can be normal? Why feel joy when you can feel awful? Don't be free, that's a way to be mobile. Why be happy when you can be normal? Normal. Why be happy when you can be normal? Why feel joy when you can feel awful? Don't be free, there's a way to be mobile. Why be happy when you can be normal? Normal.
Excellent. You
That's
threw
a
me there.
laugh,
Brilliant. There was something that I noticed in your lyrics in Brown Like a John, the line about having children and wanting 0.4 more.
He's
right?
got himself 2 children, but he still wants 0.4 more. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I loved. But it struck me that it's a very British style of songwriting. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of precise, and this is not a criticism by any stretch of the imagination. I love that because it's a sort of thing. Well, coming back to Mr. Difford, Squeeze, you know, some of the lyrics in Squeeze, you know, and all I got was bitter and a nasty little rash. Those, you know, though, which I think is one of the great lines, and some of the stuff that the Dave Davies and Ray Davies produced in the Kinks, you know, but they have a different feel to them, and I wouldn't expect to hear those in an American writer. Do you know what I mean? And
I
Nick is
like
a classic. Nick is a classic example. I think Nick's writing is so essentially British. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I do sort of. I mean, my little bio says that I'm an Americana artist that combines cherished Americana folk roots with British wit and wordplay. That's what my little bio says. And so that is something that I really pride myself on. I mean, I like to. I think I mentioned this to you before, that I like to try and achieve the exact equilibrium of half clever lyrics. So actually it's half clever, ARF.
Yeah, half clever. Yes, I remember this conversation. It's absolutely right, because you don't want to be clever.
No, you can't be so clever that no one understands it. You've got to be half clever. See, so so that is actually by design.
I think when we had this when we had this conversation before, I think I said nobody wants to be Will Self. I think that was the expression I used.
Exactly.
who is too clever for his own good, and
exactly. I try to be half clever, and I think that's where the little lore thing comes in. You know, small little stories, little tales, little lessons, little kind of, you know. I mean, the whole Brown Liquor John, the way that unfolds, the man's got everything, but he never asked for happiness, and then, you know, at the end he dies. You know, it's terribly sad. And I guess quite sort of shocking. And I think it's been really interesting how, like, the radio DJs that play that song, how they pick up on that. Because I mean, I was talking to my producer and I said I thought it was quite clever, with a bit of a bleak, sad ending, and a little bit amusing along the, you know, it's another step towards his bypass. He wants 2.4 more children, all of those kind of things. But a lot of the DJs that have got on it, they've gone on with if anyone needs help, dial this number afterwards and all that kind of things. They've really taken it quite seriously. So it's really interesting how it can land so differently, the same song.
Yeah, I remember.
You know?
I remember quite graphically a few years ago hearing completely the antithesis of that. And it was Jeremy Vine. And he just played I Wasn't Expecting That.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. So sad.
And he, at the end of it, he said, I can just see him there, sitting there happily playing his guitar. And I thought, you have not listened to a single word of this song.
You really
And it was so, it was... I wanted to reach into it and slap him across the face and say, you haven't listened to this. Because he thought he was a shit. And it was such a, embarrassment. It should have been for him. He probably didn't realize, but there you go. So anyway, listen, do you reckon we can squeeze an extra song in? Thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. It's been a total pleasure.
Keep in touch. Now let's put your moniker up again. There you go.
little music.
Yeah,
that's all the socials.
Yeah. Available in
available on all social media platforms.
Social media near you. So
So yes, I'll do the single that I've got. I'm glad I did it this order. It's all sort of by accident. Didn't really think this through. It's not the order I wrote them down.
That's how we do it here. That's how we do it. It's all by accident.
But this is a song that I wrote in the summer. It's called Birds, and it's actually my next single, so it's coming out in a couple of weeks' time. So yeah, you can hear how it sounds with all the really proper musicians on it. Black cat purring, birds in the trees, boats sail by on a river of peace. I wish I was a bird. I could fly. There are no souls. Spend the days alone. My only contact, the lies in my phone. I wish I was a bird. I could fly. Fly to the country with my secrets. Need for escape gets more frequent. The birds can tell me when they sing how to love again. He was different, nothing there to hide. Despite the pain, it's true, he never lied. I wish I was a bird. I could fly. Fly to the country with my secrets. Need for escape gets more frequent. The birds can tell me when they sing how to love again. Look for ways out, there's no path. Time's a healer for the permanently scarred. I wish I was a bird. I could fly. Fly to the country with my secrets. Need for escape gets more frequent. The birds can tell me when they sing how to love again. Yeah, the birds can tell me when they sing how to love again.
Great. Lovely.
You're going to join in
Great
with
stuff.
me then,
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for playing for us. Thanks for the chat. And best of luck with it all. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolute pleasure. There you go. That's a little lore. Yeah. So that's it for today, and I'll be back next week. Next week's a bit of a surprise because I've got no idea who it was going to be yet. But we have Nick on the week after, who will. His songs are so entertaining. They are. We talked before about things being half clever, and Nick does this weekly challenge, which Trish has been doing as well. So I'm sure he'll have a lot to tell us about that. And the fact he's been doing it for some time. So he must have a huge bank vault equivalent size of tunes and things stored away now. So in the meantime, look after yourselves, have fun, play music, write music, sing music, do what you like, but have some fun. So we shall see you next week. Bye.